What's up, Amazon sellers? If you are using Fulfillment by Amazon, Amazon's own inventory management service, then you are likely to be owed potentially thousands of pounds, thousands of dollars. And today I'm going to learn more about this and how it actually happens from the founder of Seller Toolkit, Norm, who's going to tell us about what is happening and the changes which are happening with Amazon and how you can obviously get that money back. Stay tuned. Norm, thank you so much for joining me. Today, obviously, I'm really interested and I'm really happy to have you here and grateful to learn about what is going on with Amazon, the way they manage inventory, and obviously how potentially they can be losing our inventory and obviously not paying us for it or telling us that they're owed it. And obviously, your software helps claim this back and helps identify and find it way above and beyond manual processes. Now, before we kind of jump into that, if anyone doesn't know you, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit who you are?
Yeah, I'm Norm Rogers. I'm a full-time developer, but I have given up full-time developing to develop Seller Toolkit, which started as an accident because we were an Amazon seller and didn't know what the hell was going on with our sales, and there wasn't the right software around at the time. So I started off developing Seller Toolkit, or STK as we like to call it these days, about 5 years ago, thinking it would be a 3 to 6 month project, and here we are 5 years later still doing it.
I know the feeling, definitely. And hey, well done. I think, the one thing which I will say is, I use this software, especially the inventory reconciliation part, and it's been game-changing. It really has helped, and I use it both in the UK and the US for both my businesses. So obviously here today, we're talking about, should we say, inventory management. Now, I made the claim at the beginning, Amazon could potentially owe sellers thousands of pounds, thousands of dollars. What do I mean by that? Tell me about that. Surely Amazon's paying us back when they lose stock. What's the situation?
It's not just Amazon losing stock. The process of you saying goodbye to your boxes of items when UPS pick it up, from there onwards, it's now Amazon's responsibility for your stock. If the UPS guy crushes all your stuff and it arrives at Amazon with the crushed box and everything is damaged, it's not down to you, it's down to Amazon, because you've used UPS, which are Amazon's partner or carrier. So you can have carrier damaged or distributor damaged. When it gets to the fulfillment center, then it could get crushed again by the fulfillment center workers. Anything could happen. A forklift driver could go over it. Again, it's not your responsibility. Other things that happen is that when it's been unpacked from the box, you've sent 10 items in, they're unpacking, they said received only 5. 5 are lost, 5 are missing. And you have to then go in and say, well, no, I sent 10. And there are customer damage, which are items that have been sent to the customer. Customers have sent them back, all your packages have been opened or whatever, and they're not actually reimbursable. Well, I'll come back onto that a little better. But you need to know where all your items are. And what I did with Seller Toolkit is, before then, I didn't have a clue. Nobody had a clue. So the only way you could work it out was by downloading the inventory adjustment management report, which had lots and lots of entries for one item or 2 items and what fulfillment center it went to, where it was damaged, where it was found, where it was lost. And there was no real succinct process that says you sent these 10 items in, 5 of them were damaged by, 2 were damaged by the courier, 3 were damaged by fulfillment center, and 1 was lost. You had no idea what had happened. And what we used to do, and what everybody did manually, and people probably still do manually, is I'd use that report. You'd then filter on the reason code, which was M, D, or E, if I remember rightly. And then if you did this once every month, that would probably give you a spreadsheet of about 100 different entries. And you had to then split that up into 20, well, some say 5, I did 20. So if it was 5, that means you have to split it up into 20 spreadsheets of 5, or 5 spreadsheets of 20, which I used to do. And for each list, you would then have to create a case, send that list off to the seller support, and then they would come back and say, so if you sent 20, they'd have information on each one of those 20 items. No refund due, nothing found, no refund due, refund on this one, £2.50, whatever. And you think, well, that's it. So I don't know whether that's right. I don't know whether that's wrong. I'd have to trust Amazon. And there were times where I used to say, well, hang on a second, no, that's not right. I know I sent 10 of those items in, and I know I'm owed money. And you'd have this conversation with them and get nowhere with it and say, case shut almost. So I thought, right, there's got to be a better way to do this. So I set about for a good solid 3 months working on this, of getting all of the information, not just inventory adjustment report, although that plays a big part, but getting everything together and being able to do matching processing to find out where everything really was, how long things have been lost or missing for, and from there be able to sit and say, well, there are 10 items. So it's by, simply by SKU. So everything's by the actual SKU. So you can see whether how many were lost at the fulfillment center, how many were damaged, and how many reimbursements you have been received for damaged or for lost. So it splits everything up and says, right, you have not been reimbursed for 5 of these items. You sent in 300 of these items over the last 18 months. 5 of them you've not been reimbursed for. And you would not have a clue. You would absolutely not have a clue that that was the case. It could be 20. And if those items are £100 a go, some people's are, that's like, that could be £2,000 that you're owed that Amazon have not told you about. So what actually happens is that Amazon do reimburse you. They do 90% of the time they reimburse you, probably more than 90%, you'll be reimbursed. So SDK just says, right, you've got pending 10 reimbursements, and it'll stay pending until it becomes overdue. And it becomes overdue for damaged items and distributor damaged, I think it's 30 days, if I remember rightly, and for customer not returned, it's 45 days. So it just says, right, I know that item went to that person, that customer on that day, they haven't returned it, it's 46 days since they got the refund, it hasn't come back. So you get an alert, and it goes into overdue and says, you need to raise a case to get this amount of money back. And so right on the front of the dashboard of STK, it gives you right in black and white, or it might be actually a different colour than that, it'll tell you how many items are overdue, not pending, how many items are overdue, and the estimated reimbursement amount. And you just need to go into the reimbursements, you click on all the overdue reimbursements, go each one individually, and then just click the template, the email support template, just click on that, you copy the subject into your seller support case creation process, copy the body of the email into there and click go. So there's none of this 20 emails or not knowing. And then what happens then is that it goes to Seller Central, and again, 50% of the time, back when I first did this, first started doing this, everybody was getting reimbursed immediately. People could not believe how much money they were owed and how much they got back. There was one guy there was quite a lot of people that when this first went live, that were getting back £400, £500, £1,000 within just a couple of weeks of having Seller Toolkit. And they used to repost and say, I can't believe it, I've just paid for Seller Toolkit for the next 3 years, do you know, because they're paying their £32.99 a month, but they've just been reimbursed £500. £500 that they would never have got, or £500 that they probably did do the manual process and it never came up in the manual process. They just came back and said, no, nothing due. So what happens now is that if they come back and say there's nothing due, you've now got email number 2 to send, which is based on the inventory, and you turn around and say, no, there is. And so you can go as far as you want until you want to give up, but I don't give up, and I will get that money back. And so, so a lot of people have made a lot of money back. I don't think there's one person that's not made a lot of money out of reimbursements and paid for their Seller Toolkit subscription for at least a year within their first few weeks. So it's my proudest piece of the software because it took so long. A lot of learning was brought, like I said, because I would question what Amazon were coming back with when they said there was nothing due, and I would question all of their calculations, be able to put up my calculations together and challenge it. Whereas when you do it manually, you have no way of challenging it. There's no way of challenging it. You just take it for what they did. And when I first fired it up, which would have been over 2 years ago now on our own account, I was now getting reimbursed for stuff that they told me previously there was no reimbursement due. And so I was making hundreds of pounds back as well. So, and it's evolved. I still tweak it. And I think it went live September, I don't know, 2 years ago, I'm always checking it, and it's a huge, complex process. It is not just using that inventory adjustment report. It uses that to be able to work out what the transactions are to get reimbursed for, but it's using lots of different elements. That SDK has got your whole account, and it knows how many orders you had. It knows everything. It knows. So it says, right, if you sent in 300 items and you've sold 299, it says, well, you've got one item missing. Where's the other? You would not know that. With inventory adjustment report and all the other reports, you put them together, you would not know that you've got one item missing. And so that was great. So, and then you look up and you find out, well, it was lost, but it's never been reimbursed. So the SDK will say, you owed some money. So yeah, I love it. The reason I love that bit so much, not because I've not seen it done anywhere else. And the only other software, what they do, is nothing more, but they just get the inventory adjustment report and the manual process that you do. They just automated that. So there's no reconciliation. If you use that software, it's just, and it comes back so that you're due nothing. You've got nothing to follow up with because you don't have the full picture. But the biggest part of it is that it makes people money. It doesn't make people money, sorry. It gets people money that they would have lost and would never have known about. So people can make money from having Seller Toolkit, which is a bit bonkers. Right? So
no, I certainly understand, and I think obviously because I use the software as well, and I know, my God, in my UK business we do a lot of sales. It's definitely in the thousands we've got back. I'd never deny that. So thank you. You talked about other software there. Obviously, not to name any names, but like, how is your software different? And even around like your pricing, how you price is different. Like, how are you different from other software that does, should we say, reclaims, reimbursements?
Main difference is that I use every piece of information within Seller Central that I can get hold of to be able to reconcile your inventory. The inventory reconciliation on Amazon is incorrect, and I've proved that many, many times, and which is why we get reimbursed. And what I did do, there are some services out there, and I checked against some services. What I did, I signed up to a reconciliation service, a reconciliation app, a reimbursement app. Tested those out to tell me what they thought I was owed and what Seller Toolkit was saying. These came up with, it was just no different to do it manually. It was just hundreds of them, which you might be owed, just like you would do an inventory adjustment. So it wasn't doing what Seller Toolkit was doing at all. It was just taking the inventory adjustment report. It was going through that, and it's just doing the filter by DME automatically, and maybe looking at the reimbursements and says, well, we believe there should be 10 reimbursements here. You've had 5, so therefore there must be 5 overdue. It's not that simple. It really isn't that simple. So I worked out, so I had this information from this app, and it had quite a lot, say 30 rows on a spreadsheet. And I looked at each one of these, the SKUs on Seller Toolkit, and a lot of them they weren't owed because I'd already been reimbursed, or they weren't owed because they weren't overdue yet, and I should say, and there were some on there that said need a reimbursement, which did agree with Seller Toolkit, but there were some on Seller Toolkit need a reimbursement that weren't on the report, on the app. So this app was charging, I think, 20% of whatever you got reimbursed. So you had to pay that on top. So therefore, if you had £1,000 missing, you've lost another £200 of that. Whereas with Seller Toolkit, it's all part of the service. It's all part of the same basic, and it's not just doing your manual process automated. It's doing a full reconciliation, all your inventory, to know exactly where it is. And so that's why it's different. And I did not get anything from the 2 services I used more than I would have got. In fact, I got more with Seller Toolkit because it highlighted items that these 2 services didn't use. And the only reason that I have to surmise by that is that they were just using the inventory adjustment report.
Interesting. And I think, the interesting thing you kind of talked about there is you're finding more, but also you're not taking a percentage of the reclaim, which is a great thing.
Yes.
But I think also the one thing which I will highlight, and I see it in your group, is you are very open to say, if the other software finds something, please let me know. I want to find out if they know something I don't, and I'll build it in. Or is it erroneous data? You're really open to that, to say, hey, hey, I want to make this the best it can be. And that is something that I really value. Now, talking about making it the best it can be, Amazon's obviously recently updated the way you talked about it. We first started doing reclaims, they all went through. Now it's changed. I'm hearing in the communities like bots replying.
Absolutely.
What's the situation? What's happening? What are you doing with it?
Bots always used to reply, and there wasn't a lot you could do about it. Is it a coincidence that as soon as thousands of claims from STK were going in with all very similar templates, all of a sudden a bot came out and recognised our template and started saying, use our tool, and their tool is just as bad as their reports. It doesn't work. So we're probably getting about 50% get stopped. The guys in the community have been doing it's like, well, they just go to the tool, and I have been go to the tool. If they say go to the tool, and then click on you have to put the SKU in there, and if it says nothing owed, you can still turn around and say, right, raise a case anyway, and then cut and paste the information from Seller Toolkit into there, so it still goes through and you'll still get reimbursed. It's just that you now need to go through that extra step, maybe 50% of the time. But what I'm looking at right now, and I just started and I put a post up to say, well, I'm trying to find a way of beating the bot. Now, I put in, you can see if the bot's working, because right below when you raise a case, it says, it's trying to work out what you're trying to do. And it says, if your reimbursements, use our tool. If you put in the Seller Toolkit template right now, and it'll say use our tool, even though you can still send it, but you'll be caught by the bot. When it gets sent, it'll come back with the bot again. I started cutting bits and pieces out of the template, like reimbursement, lost, distributor damaged. It kept coming up the same, reimbursement. Even if I just had the transaction number. So I thought, they have definitely built this bot on my template or on our template, because it was just catching everything. So I just put in some random stuff. I put in, hey, these items are overdue and the SKU. See what would happen. Beat the bot. No bot. Came back, says, can you give us more information? Cut and paste, bang, gone. Got mirror. Yeah, so I'm trying to find a way of doing that. I don't think there's going to be a way where it's just always going to be one email. Yeah. There's going to be two in a lot of cases now, because it just tries to catch us out. It's
an ongoing battle, isn't it, with the Amazon?
Ongoing battle with seller support all the time, absolutely.
It's because they're trying to automate, aren't they, efficiencies?
Yeah, but they're trying to automate to make more things, their support more efficient, but their tool itself is inefficient. It's as inefficient as their whole process is in the first place. So there's no point. So yeah, so they're still going to, from Seller Toolkit users, they're still going to get the second email. And a lot of people were trying to give up, and they actually thought that one of the big problems is that distributor damaged. If you're using UPS preferred, the Amazon preferred carrier, you get your distributor damage. You should get reimbursed for distributor damage, but they keep coming back. The response for this damage is always, can you provide the UPS number? Can you provide that number, the shipment ID? And you've got to turn around and say, I don't have any of that. That's your problem, you know. But people were giving up. People were giving up, thinking, oh, I'm not owed it. And I said, no. You've got to carry on. Do never give up. Never give up trying to get your money back. If it's distributor damage, they owe you. And I don't know why the bots, or even when it gets through to a support agent, that they reply with this. They should know full well it's UPS that they're owed this money. But that's another thing that I've got to try and fathom out why we're getting that. So, wow. Yeah. So, and like I said, the main bit is that if you get back a response saying you're not owed anything, Seller Toolkit has all of the information for you to back that up with. You've got all the statements of everything, so you can turn and say, no, hand this over to your manager, and I don't give up.
Fantastic. You've told us all about kind of what's going on, the bots, reclaiming, and obviously how Seller Toolkit, should we say, does some amazing work. And hey, I use it. It's really made a difference to my business in reclaiming, but also as well how it does it, what it does, and also how much it costs as well versus comparable software, which maybe might not be to the same standard. Question for you: if anyone wants to check out Seller Toolkit, or maybe even like join a community around it, how can they do that? What's the best way?
Best way is to, we don't have a website right now, which is terrible, I know, but everything's happened by word of mouth. You want to find out more, search for us on Facebook as Seller Toolkit Ultimate Software, and it will come up immediately, and join the group, find out more there. But obviously the best way to try or to find out about anything is to give it a try. 14-day free trial.
Fantastic. And if you guys want to know, I will drop a link down below to that 14-day free trial and the Facebook group. So do check it out. Trust me, I use it. I think it's a great bit of software. It has changed the game. The one thing which I will add, just to say as a disclaimer, is that the reconciliation isn't part of the 14-day trial. You do have to wait for the 14 days to eclipse, and then obviously subscribe, and then you can use the reconciliation. But there isn't an additional charge, as a percentage. It's just part of the fee, should we say? It's a great price as well. So do check it out. Norm, thank you so much, obviously, for creating the software and taking time out. And I know you are like non-stop doing support, development, and obviously to see you here is like amazing. So thank you. And I think everyone watching this, thank you for the software you've created, also the time today, and also sharing your knowledge. So it's been a real pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.